This thing crooked? Okay. Well, I think that's good. I think it's good. Hello, everyone. And Heidi here. I'm here and I'm live, coming at you live today. Yay! Yay! Me and my tiny hands. Dang it. You're not supposed to see my real hand. And I got my other hand on backwards. Anyway, me and my tiny hands are here. Yay! We're live again. Okay, stop being stupid. I almost was going to have Jace today, but it worked out that his dad was able to take him and have him for the day. So that was cool. I'm really glad. And Jace just adores being able to spend time with his dad when he can. So sometimes Wednesdays don't always work for him to be able to have him. But thankfully today did. That was good. So yeah. So now I'm just coming on early. I guess I didn't have any big announcements to make, but I come in 10 minutes early regardless. Give people time to come in, get their notifications. And again, if you're one that doesn't like all the opening chatter and you want to get right to the point, try, and you're coming back and replay, that is. Try just pushing that little thing in about 10 minutes and hopefully I'll be on time. If I'm still rambling about silly stuff, scoot it in a little bit more. It only takes you an extra second or two to do that. And that way you can skip all the stuff that you don't care to hear about. So Daddy Son Time is so special. Yeah, it really is. And, it's like Jace just absolutely adores spending time with his dad and with his papa. And I'm sure he gets tired of just being around us chicks. He's around grandma a lot. He's around mom a lot. But to get to have, full days to spend with dad or with papa, he loves it. He doesn't really even care what they do together just so they can be together. But especially if it's guy stuff, especially if it's anything mechanical. I mean, he may not, he's still working on the language thing. He's still having a hard time trying to form certain sounds, but he seems to be just really kind of getting to a point where I hear differences, getting better every day. But when it comes to mechanical stuff and really paying attention to detail, pretty much anything, he cooks. He's only 4. And both mom and dad get him in the kitchen and start cooking. And he loves doing that. But he also loves doing anything, like if he's helping Patrick helping fix his telehandler or any of his other heavy equipment. It doesn't matter. He's right there. He's right there watching and learning, doing anything he can. Jax is the same way. But I do notice something about Jace that's a little more specific in the way he pays attention and picks up on details. So it's really good when he gets this kind of time. So Sunday he got to go to the beach with dad. And yeah, he hasn't been to the beach in a while. So I could tell from the pictures I got that he had a really good time. So that's cool. But yeah, I've been out today again. I got the dehydrator running, and I just have one running right now. I was running both of them yesterday, but people say they don't hear it. I noticed in the playback last time I had it running that you can't hear it in the background. So I hope that is still accurate. I figure maybe if it's just one, it's not so loud. They're really not that loud anyway. These dehydrators, they're pretty quiet for the most part. Today I've got I got some lovage stalks that I'd started drying yesterday that didn't get fully dry, and some honeysuckle in there. And then some eggs that I had been dehydrating. I had one tray that didn't get fully dry, so that tray's in there. The rest of them are all powdered up. I decided to go ahead and put up another 3 dozen powdered eggs, since I have so much coming in. And the people that usually buy my eggs haven't needed as many lately. So I'm like, well, I could advertise advertisement. I could advertise it in the Facebook, the Forks Facebook groups. We have 2 or 3 groups for this town. I don't know why we need so many. Other than the fact that there's some of the administrators on one of the groups, they're just jerks. So I think a lot of people are like, "Okay, I'm done with you." But anyway, so I think that's probably why there's a couple others. Um, what was I saying? Well, I could advertise and probably easily sell them, but I'm like, since I have these coming in extra and I'm really trying to work through my 2022 and 2021 eggs that I had dehydrated, powdered, and put up. I should be replacing those with some from this year so I can always make sure I'm way ahead. Because I look at it this way, you never know what can happen with, maybe we're at church, something comes in and gets hold of all of our chickens, kills them all. All it takes is one time. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. Nothing's got a hold of our chickens. Well, one time a cat got a hold of one, and the chickens were all making such a squawk, and this is before we had, Antonio keeping guard, and he's much bigger than a cat. Um, but I ran out there, and this cat had one of the chickens and was holding it down like this, had it from behind, and I just went out there and literally roared at it. I'm sure the neighbors think I'm absolutely insane. I just went out there and went, "Rah!" Part of it was because I was really mad and very protective, but I also wanted to, put the fear of God in that chicken or in that cat, not the chicken. The chicken was already terrified, poor thing. Um, it didn't hurt it, but it definitely managed to get out a few feathers and scare the crud out of it. But that cat, it took off. So that's the only time I've ever seen anything get a hold of one of my chickens. And that was several years ago. But still, you never know. And so, no, I know someone who had a lot of chickens and like way more chickens than me, at least 3, 4 times as many chickens than I do, hens. And she was hardly getting any eggs. All her chickens had something wrong with them, I think, because all the chickens I got from her, like in barter, ended up all having issues of some kind. One ended up having some kind of paralysis that just developed out of the blue. And it started from the legs, the feet, went up the legs, clear up to the throat until she couldn't eat or drink anymore. I was having to feed her by hand and give her water by hand. But then it got to a point, it's like, this, I have no idea what's going on here. And she was the only one. She was the only chicken. And then all the rest I got from them, because there was at least 4 other hens I got from them, and all of them have had some kind of weird issue, and I think it's all like some kind of ovarian cancer or something, or cysts or whatever. They start out fine, but then their eggs, they start laying sporadically. Their eggs start to get all lumpy and strange, and Silver's doing the same thing, and, now she isn't laying at all. So I keep wondering what happened to all her chickens, all her hens that were affected by something. And I heard recently that everybody that because they had to sell their farm they had to get rid of all their farm animals. And everybody that got farm animals from them had something wrong with them. So I'm like, what the heck was going on out there? So, but all my chickens that I've raised myself have been very, very healthy. So, anyway, but my point in bringing that up though is that you just never really know what can happen, and all of a sudden you're not getting any eggs. And so I think it's good to always have something stored up, and dehydrating is my favorite way to do it, because the freezing method is great as long as you use them up within a year, because then they take on a really strange flavor and smell after about a year. It's very strange. But up until then they're usually really good. And then the water glass method takes up a lot of room, and they're still going to get runny, really watery within a year. So you still got to use them up within a certain period of time. Whereas the dehydrated eggs last for years and years in vacuum sealed jars. They might not have as many uses, but you can still eat them as a scrambled egg, use them for making quiches, omelets. Um, you can use them because I dehydrate them raw. I keep them raw. You can use them in baked goods. So that's mostly what I've been doing. Using them and making pancakes and anything like that where you'd add an egg to the mixture, cornbread, etc. So anyway, question. Okay, I'm gonna have to get into the topic. So anyone who's watching some replay and is mad because I'm not getting immediately into the topic, just understand I'm answering the question because I'll forget it later. Does homemade ACV, okay, apple cider vinegar, are you being specific on apple cider or just homemade vinegar in general? Sometimes come out thick with high pectin content. Okay, I should have finished reading your question. It can. But then again, I've had some vinegars turn out sort of thick and the marshmallow one obviously did kind of get a little slimy because, well, that's the marshmallow root will do that. But I've had some that, like, I did two side by side one time that were just like a day apart, dragon fruit peel vinegar. And I haven't bought dragon fruit in a long time because it's so expensive, but I was trying it and I'm like, I'm going to make the most of this expensive stuff. So I was taking the peels and making vinegar, and I made 2 jars of vinegar. One, they both turned out, smelled, as far as taste and smell, the same, but one was slimy or very thick, and the other one wasn't. Who knows? I really don't know why. All the same exact stuff in there. However, I mean, it was definitely vinegar. It smelled and tasted like vinegar, so I wasn't worried about it being spoiled. I mean, I think you would know. Yes, you would know. Did, just to be on the safe side, did I use the really thick one as for my hair, and I loved it. There was something about any of the ones that have, it's rare that it's happened, but I've had a couple that have done that. When I use them for my hair, they just seem to have an extra conditioning power to them. So it was great. So you can use it like that if you're a little uncertain. All right, so let's get into the topic. So, first gotta do my greeting. Hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. And today I'm doing another video on 3 items that I grow to stock my pantry with. So it's not just about growing and eating fresh, is what I mean. Like, we'll grow lettuces, right? But lettuces aren't something you really preserve. You want to stock. You can't can them. I mean, you can, but I'm sure you can them, but what are they going to be good for? You can dehydrate them, but mostly I'm going to do that with the really high nutrient content things like kale and such, but just regular lettuce. So you have a lot of things that will grow that you're going to want to use immediately as they're coming in fresh. But then there's things I really like to, not just eat fresh, but there's some things I grow specifically just for putting up. Not that I never use any of it fresh, but my main purpose is to put it up for the future. So let me get a drink of water. My mouth is already drying out. Yeah, there's probably nothing wrong with it as long as it smells and tastes like vinegar. Banana vinegar is always thick. I can't remember if mine's always thick, but I can, that's going to have any of your peels that have a lot of that pith or any of that kind of stuff is going to be more apt to make a thicker kind of vinegar. But there's a difference between just being sort of thick and being slimy. So I've had both. But anyway, so let's start off with beans. I absolutely adore growing beans. And I grow as many beans as I possibly can, just like I grow as many tomatoes as I possibly can. Beans are another one. And the thing I love about beans, especially when you get anything that's a climber, is you can plant it next to anything. I had some grown on a little fruit tree out front one time. On our apple tree when it was real small. I planted some beans around it just because I'd had all these beans I'd soaked and filled up all my regular bean areas. And so I'll put some around the apple tree, and the apple tree was pretty small. It was probably I could have been as tall as me, which is about 5 feet. So the beans were climbing up it, and the apples, of course, were done by this point. Or no, the apples were growing on it. That's right. We had apples. The flowers would have been done. Is my point. But the bean flowers, the scarlet runners, so you had these bright kind of what coral color, because they're not really. I don't really call it red. It's like a flame orange or something. And so my father-in-law, he's looking at that. He knew it was an apple tree. And he's like, I've never seen an apple tree with flowers like that. And then he realized that I was growing beans up the apple tree. So that's one of the things I love about beans. You can plant them around your corn and around your sunflowers. Now, around the corn here, I've tried it, but the problem is the beans always grow way faster than the corn does. Corn takes a long time here, but the sunflowers do pretty good. So I've grown them, planted them next to the sunflowers. And I did that again this year. I don't do it every year, but it depends on where I'm growing my sunflowers. But this year, definitely planted some next to my sunflowers. And again, it's another beautiful sight when you see those beans climbing up the sunflowers and use the sunflowers as a trellis. And you got these beautiful bean flowers, whatever color they are, like the purple potted pole beans have a beautiful purple flower. And so there's so many places where you can just plant beans. Oh, I used to have a little peach tree in a pot back here, and I'd plant beans next to that, and then have the beans growing all up in this little peach tree. It's really pretty. It makes the most of the space, and it just increases the amount of beans you get. Now, I also have some dedicated spots that are for beans, that where we put some horse fencing. I think it's horse fencing that we use, not the hog wire. And they climb up that, and then we have a couple of arched areas with cattle panels, one covered, one not. I'll grow beans on both. I put the purple potted ones in the covered area. That's where I grow my pumpkin, and I plant them amongst each other. And so the purple potted does better in that covered area than it does out in the open lately. And so they just take a little longer to grow than the scarlet runners. And so aside from the fact that there's so many places I can grow them, beans have a lot of purposes. Well, they're dual purpose. Any bean that you can use as a green bean is a dual purpose bean. What that means is you'll get beans that you only use as a dry bean because they don't make a good green bean. But I will only grow beans that will go be a good green bean. And then later, once I get enough of the green beans, the whole bean canned up, and some of them I will dehydrate, then the rest I will let fully mature and then use them as a dry bean. And you can make chili, you can add it to soups, you get in that protein. So I love the dual purpose of beans like that. So it's another reason why I like to grow a lot of them. And so, and with that said, I did plant the French horticulture beans that are climbers, and I was so excited about those. Not a single one of them sprouted, not one. I was really disappointed. But the dragon tongue beans, which I grew once before and really, really liked them, but the slugs, they're their favorite beans. So you got to really be on top of it with the slugs. And unfortunately, I could only find a bush bean variety. I don't know. I think the French horticulture bean is very similar when I was looking at them, very similar to the dragon tongue, but it's the climber. But the bush bean, I have several coming up. I think they're going to be okay as long as the slugs don't find them. Thankfully, my back garden area is not as slug heavy because of my chickens and because I let them roam that same area. About 9 months out of the year, they get to roam that whole area. And so they keep it pretty picked clean of slugs. However, we live in a place where we don't necessarily always get the massive slugs. A lot of them are pretty small. It's that there's a lot of them and they're very tenacious. I swear they fly. I swear when you're not looking, they sprout wings and fly. Or they sneakily don't let you on to the fact that they can actually move 100 miles an hour because they come from all around to eat your beans and what else they like nasturtium calendula. When they tend to leave the calendula alone once it gets to a certain size, but as it's coming up out of the ground, they'll mow it right down. Little jerks. So anyway, well, obviously I'm joking about the wings and the 100 miles an hour, but I have had slugs get into hanging pots. That is tenacious. How in the world did they get into the hanging pots? Obviously, they had to go up something, over something, and then go down into the pot. I thought hanging pots, this will be safe from slugs. No. So anyway, multi beans have multi-purpose. Plus, you're getting that, you're fulfilling the whole, at least half of the whole rice and beans thing, right? Everybody's telling you. And I believe in trying to have all different varieties. But I'll keep falling back on those runner beans. So far, they have been the best. The Scarlet Runner in particular. The Sunset Runners do pretty good too, but the Scarlet Runners always do great for me. Always get a lot of beans. And so, yeah, I put them up in several different ways. And that's my main purpose of growing them, is so that I can have plenty to get us not just through 1 year, but as many years as ahead as I can get. This is one of the things I'm using to stock my pantry. This is why a lot of times when I'm talking about canning or gardening and stuff, I'm always showing pictures of my green beans. Plus, I have a couple of really great pictures I've taken over the years of my canned green beans that I'm like, wow, that picture turned out really good. And I just use my phone. I don't have any fancy camera equipment. So let me read this. I have a question. See, what type of pole beans do you like? So yeah, so like I said, if you're talking to me, it would be, I'm sure I'm just now seeing that, and I probably already answered your question, but just in case, the Scarlet Runner is my favorite. So just because it's been dependable, but that doesn't mean I don't like, trying to try other beans. I've tried growing a couple of different lima beans, and apparently lima beans don't like it here. I had these ones that were called like a Christmas lima. Were those the ones I got from Deep South Homestead? I think they gifted them to me, and they were so cool looking. And every seed I've tried from them, and I know it's not them, it's the two opposing climates. It doesn't matter that we're in the same zone. Our climates in every other aspect are as opposite as they can be. So I'm thinking that's the issue. So anyway, so beans is one. And then, as you probably noticed in the thumbnail that I used, at least for the live, I don't know what thumbnail, how I'll do that. I usually try to make a similar thumbnail for my, my separate video. But I put a picture of my pumpkin bread that I made. Not pumpkin sweet bread. It was a yeast bread. Little bit of sweetness to it, but not like your applesauce bread or your zucchini or banana bread. But and in the background, I had a couple of my pumpkins. So this is why I love pumpkin so much. Okay. And why I like to put up a lot of it. Hardly any of it gets used right away. Almost never. I grow it so I can stock my pantry with it. And how do I stock my pantry with it? I stock it by dehydrating. It used to be what I was doing for a time was cooking it and pureeing it up, and then just freezing it in jars, because you're told, oh, you can't can pumpkin puree, you can only can it in chunks. Whatever. I'm curious to know, by the way, anyone watching live, watching later, let me know if you've ever canned pumpkin puree. I am curious. But once it dawned on me that dehydrating pumpkin is just as useful as canned or frozen. And it's easier. In fact, in some ways it has more uses. So I cook it up once all of my pumpkins are in and they've all fully turned orange and I'm done with everything else, because pumpkin actually has a pretty long shelf life as is if you can keep it in a fairly cool area. And once I get all the busy stuff behind me, I'll start cooking up that pumpkin. Usually I wait till we have fires going in the wood stove and I'll just cook it on the wood stove, and then scrape it out of the peel, and then, the skin, and then put it on my little silicone sheets in my dehydrator and dehydrate it up and then powder it up. And then from there, I can take that pumpkin and do anything I want with it that you can do with canned pumpkin. All the same stuff. You can make pumpkin dip. You can make pumpkin cookies. You can make pumpkin pie. You can make a pumpkin latte. What else am I forgetting? Pumpkin icing. Add a little bit of that pumpkin to your yeast bread, like the picture with the pumpkin shaped pumpkin bread. I put pumpkin in there. It even just adding it to yeast breads, just the powder, even if you're not looking, even if you're wanting a savory bread, not necessarily sweet, it adds a nice flavor and it makes the bread so soft. And I find that the pumpkin especially seems like it helps the bread to rise better. So I would use about, to just like a standard amount of bread that most people are going to make, which is somewhere between 4 to 5 cups of flour altogether. Substitute a little bit of that flour for maybe about a quarter cup is typically the most I put in there. I can't remember if I've increased it more than that. Of your squash powder, pumpkin in particular, mix that in there, and then, treat it just treat it like flour, the way you're mixing in with the flour, and it's great. It's really, really good. But you could also make it to use it to make like a sweet bread kind of pumpkin bread. And when I made the pumpkin, what was it? Pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls, or pumpkin spice rolls. In the center, I put some of the powdered pumpkin in there with the brown sugar and the cinnamon and nutmeg and clove, rolled that up, and then did the same thing, added some of the pumpkin powder and made to some powdered sugar and some more spices, and then used that as an icing. After I baked them, drizzled that over the top. Same thing with the pumpkin cookies. I put the pumpkin powder into the icing when I make the pumpkin cookies, and then drizzle that or spread that over the top, depending on how thick I get it. So, and then, I almost forgot. You can also, if anybody just likes to have squash, like pureed squash as a side dish, you can do that with pumpkin, like a side vegetable, little butter, a little salt, or if you want a little sweetness to it, put a little brown sugar on it. Great side vegetable. I don't do that often, but it is a great side vegetable. I personally love it. Did I say pumpkin dip? I think I did, with the cream cheese and the maple syrup. Yum. If you make pumpkin cream, it would probably taste great sandwiched between oatmeal cookies. Ooh, that sounds really yummy. Let's see. Ruth Ann Zimmerman, I've heard that name lately. Anyway, has a video canning pumpkin and squash puree. Good. That's what I figured. There's always somebody telling you can't do this and you can't do that. Don't can milk. Don't can butter. Don't leave your bands on your jars. Well, again, I don't leave the bands on my jars. I wash them, I dry them, and in some cases, I put them back on depending on the jar. I had somebody else come in and say something about, they didn't mind. They said stacking jars is fine, but leaving the bands on is wrong. You could tell they didn't watch that video. It was the older one I did about stacking jars and leaving the bands on. Basically, I was explaining, like I have, when is it appropriate to put the bands back on your canned goods? And is it fine? Yes. But I go into details on when and why in a couple of different videos. And anyway, everybody Make your own choice. Oh, yeah. And don't you dare dry can your carrots and potatoes, Deb. I'm picking on her because she's the one that sent me her instructions on how she does it. And she's the one that really got me saying, "Okay, I'm doing this." And I'm so glad I did. And I'm going to try it with carrots at some point because she does carrots that way too. And is there anything else you do? I know you mix some things together. I think maybe sometimes you do carrots and potatoes in the same jar. I don't remember. I can't. I know you've shared with me something besides just the potatoes and just the carrots. So anyway, let me see. But yeah, you can use the pumpkin. Oh, you can make a soup, like a squash soup. I have a recipe for a butternut squash soup. Patrick's not really into those kind of soups. He'll eat it if I serve it, but you could do the same thing with the pumpkin. So let's say, like, if you're like me and pumpkin grows a little better for you than butternut squash. Like one year I did great with butternut squash, and every year that I tried growing it after that, it just nothing. But you could still use the same idea, and it is going to be in a pureed form, and it is a savory soup. Though I did one time add, since I had all these apples coming in too, decided to add apples to it. So I added a little bit of sweetness. That was actually quite good. And I think the video I did years ago, back when I had poor lighting and my old cabinets, or upper cabinets at least, um, where I did like I think the butternut squash soup I made in there was the butternut apple. And both of them are pureed, cooked and pureed. So soup mix, carrots, potatoes, celery, and onions, dry canned together. Okay, very cool. I make butternut filled homemade raviolis or ravioli. I finally got myself in the habit of dropping that S off of the plural because the I is what makes ravioli plural. I did study a little bit of Italian with the boys because I'm like, we should learn at least a little bit since we're at least partially Italian. And so it's like it's so hard to get out of the habit when you're used to saying raviolis when it's ravioli. A single ravioli would be raviolo. But it's like spaghetti. Spaghetti is also plural, but you don't say spaghetto because nobody ever has just one. And you don't say spaghettis. It's fine. I'm not picking on you for saying raviolis. I'm picking on all of us because I still say it. I'm trying to break myself of the habit. Let's see. But I do make homemade ravioli. I typically will use some kind of red ground meat. So it doesn't matter if it's lamb or elk or venison or beef. And then cheese, like a Parmesan cheese, and then some herbs in there. So yeah, and I'm sure there's more. So again, you guys just keep throwing your ideas out there. What do you like to do with pumpkin? What do you like? Do you grow it? What do all the things you do with it? And the beans as well. And also another thing I want to say about the pumpkin, if I didn't say it, one of the other main reasons why I love to dehydrate it and powder it is that the amount of jars of canned pumpkin puree that you can fit into one little jar will amaze you. So you save about, what do I want to say here? At least 75% of your pantry space. Let's say you had this certain area dedicated to pumpkin, right? And so it was 100% full of jars of pureed pumpkin. And then you decided to take all that and dehydrate it up. You could probably get it all down to one or two jars. And so you're saving a minimum of 75% of that space that you could use for something else or put up more pumpkin. So this is why I love to dehydrate and powder it because of the space it saves. And then maybe I don't want to use a whole pint of pumpkin puree. Maybe I just want a spoonful. Then you open that jar for that. Well, with If it's dehydrated, it doesn't matter. And dehydrated pumpkin, though I vacuum seal it, the jar I'm working through, I don't. And it might take me months to work through it, and it's never gone bad. And that's the one I keep in my kitchen. And that's going to stay a lot warmer than my pantry area. Never had any issues. Same thing with my eggs, by the way. So let me do the last one because I'd have two more quick topics I'm going to cover. But the last one I put on here is I don't grow as much as I would like to be able to just because of our climate. And so far, the hot peppers will only grow in our greenhouse. And that space is mostly for my tomatoes, but I'll grow them in pots, and I got to have my hot peppers. And it's not just because I like spicy food, which I do like using that pepper on my food. But I'm thinking I'm getting close to getting to a point where I'll probably never have to buy cayenne pepper again. Though cayenne has a little bit different flavor than my Chinese 5-color pepper powder, which I actually prefer the flavor of my own over cayenne. Right now I still get some cayenne pepper that I'll use for things like, oh gosh, whatever. I don't even use it that much anymore. If I use anything like for making infused oils, I like using red pepper flakes just because they strain out cleaner. But regardless, besides seasoning my food, I'm getting that quercetin, and it's got other uses besides adding a kick to your dishes. It's, it's got its medicinal purposes too, because you can use powder like cayenne pepper powder or your whatever hot pepper you're growing powder, and add that to your oils. And just maybe not worry about straining it out. Just keep in mind it can turn into a mat at the bottom. So you got to really keep it mixed up all the time. But when I first started making my joint and muscle rub, I was just putting cayenne pepper in there. And I just keep shaking it up and stirring it, and then putting the cayenne pepper. You could see the little, tiny granules of it when you rub it into whatever. And that's fine. It works. It's very, very helpful. So yeah, I'm not going to say it's got a ton of uses the same way as other things do, but it does have a lot of uses. But when it comes to food, you got to like hot stuff. But I also put hot pepper in my teas and stuff sometimes. And so it's really good for colds and flus. You could make your your elderberry spice tincture or syrup and add your red peppers in there if you can handle it, because that's going to be good for building the immune system, good for fighting colds and flus. So I know there's a lot of things that I'm not thinking of. Oh, one of the other things I'll do, like with either red pepper flakes or cayenne, is you can add it to your chicken's feed. I didn't know until this past year that chickens can't taste hot. So it doesn't burn them. In fact, I saw my chicks out front in my stinging nettle eating the stinging nettle fresh off the plant. I've never seen my chickens do that. I didn't know they could. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, I know it's really good for them. So, uh, but yeah, having the pepper in their feed, adding that in there. Usually, I'll put flakes in there, but you can do a powder, and that will help with just any kind of intestinal issues and help keep parasites away, or help get rid of parasites. So coming in late, you're not too late, Linda. But you're here. That's right. Let's see. The other Linda, I got two Lindas back to back. I made chicken vegetable soup this week with all dehydrated items. Chicken, which I use the tip of freezing the cooked chicken and then dehydrated, and dehydrated vegetables and stock came out great. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. In fact, most of the time when I'm making soup, everything that goes into it is dehydrated, except for maybe the broth, because a lot of times I'll make soup. They'll all dehydrate up a bunch of broth for using for whatever, for making soups or gravies or whatever. Usually when I'm making soup, it's because I just got done making bone broth. And so I'll use either all of it or some of it. and just turn it instantly into a soup. And then everything that goes in there pretty much is something that was dehydrated. Meat, vegetables, my mixed greens, whatever. And it's so easy. It's so easy. Though I did make, I don't know if I shared this. I did make that soup last this last week with the lentils, and I did go ahead and put a handful of each in there. I thought it was good. And I knew that they would all cook a little bit differently, like some would hold their shape more and some would turn more into, just make a soup thick. I expected that. I'm not I'm not ignorant of that fact. And I liked it actually. I liked adding them all in there, but I also would like to try them separately to kind of get a better idea of the taste of each of those and other ways that I like to use them. I got some really great ideas under there. And so I did also add somebody told me about the black beluga lentils, and it's called that because it looks like beluga caviar. I've never had caviar. I don't care. I mean, I'm not scared of it, but I'm also, there's also, well, obviously there's the issue of the clean and the unclean, but also it's not that. It's just it's really expensive. It's not worth spending the money on, in my personal opinion. And so anyway, yeah, somebody said that, I think the person was telling me about that, they use that to stretch their meat, like when they're making hamburger patties and stuff like that. And I thought that was a really good idea. So I'm going to try a bag of those too. But anyway, so I think, oh yeah, some other things I do, so besides adding flavor and using as a medicine, I'll even add it in the winter time. It's one of the things I add to my coffee. I hardly ever add creamer or milk or any kind of sweetener. Almost that's maybe once a year. That's only if I just get a hankering for the pumpkin spice coffee, latte, whatever you want to call it. But typically I just drink my coffee black, and then I'll take my spice blend, which includes cayenne or any other kind of pepper. Like, so once I get to the point where I never have to buy cayenne powder again, it would be that. Right now, I'm going to keep using up the cayenne and add that to my coffee. And so not only does it add a kick to the coffee, or if you like hot chocolate, a little cayenne or any other kind of hot pepper in there, it's good. It's really good. But I'm more of just a coffee drinker. And so, not, it just adds something to the coffee, but it also is just another way I can get some more of those good um cold and flu fighting spices first thing in the morning. But it's also combined with the cloves and the cinnamon and the nutmeg, and what am I forgetting? Orange peel powder, stuff like that. It's all mixed together. So I have videos on this, on the spice blend, and that spice blend gets used in a lot of stuff. So technologically challenged me just discovered. Oh, technologically challenged me just discovered I can listen to your Rumble videos through messages. Oh, so I don't even have to put the app on my device. I'm slow, but I get there. Well, I didn't know that. Yeah, and I get that. Not one. I have this Rumble channel. I don't even have it on my phone. Though I will say this phone here, it's not activated as a phone, but I got this one as a backup. So I always have a backup phone, and I always buy like refurbished phones to save money. And when I see my iPhone that I use for all my videos, my phone, my texting, it's just getting, I keep trying to keep everything cleaned out of it. I keep my apps down to the very, very minimal that I absolutely have to have. So I don't have Rumble on there. And even then, my memory just, I don't know what they do. They do something so that eventually your phone, that no matter what you do, it gets filled up. Even if you delete all your videos, all your photos, all your text messages, there's still stuff on there. All your apps, there's still stuff in there taking up room. I clean out the browser history, that helps. But I'm like, eventually, I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to have a new phone. I mean, I've had that one for at least a couple years anyway, but still, I like to get every ounce of life out of my phones and computers that I can. So I went ahead and bought this refurbished one on Amazon. It's the same exact phone. However, you can get a lot of these older, this is a 10, so the X, and I was thrilled to find, no, it's the 11. It's the 11. I was thrilled I can find it with 256 gigabytes instead of just 64 or something like that, or does it have more than that? Anyway, it's got a ton of space on it. So now I'm using this to shoot all my videos right now and photos, and I can put my Facebook app, as long as I'm here and using the Wi-Fi, I can upload videos and stuff straight to Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Well, not my video, maybe the shorts, but I'll do the shorts to Facebook and Instagram. And then straight from the phone, because they have the way they have the editing where you could add the music. It's really simple. But anyway, so try to have all that stuff on here. And right now I'm still using my other phone as my phone. But I can get text messages and everything else on here as long as I'm using it here because of the Wi-Fi. So that's why I have it in here, because someone texts me. Mostly that's how people contact me anyway. So anyway, that was kind of a side note, but I get it. I just hate the way they make it so that, they want you to have all these stupid apps for every doggone thing, but you only got so much room on your phone, and then they make it so your phone gets all glommed up with junk, and then you have to buy a new one because no matter what you do, you can't get rid of all the space it take, all the things that are taking up space. I know there's got to be a way to do it, but I think you have to be an absolute computer whiz to know all the ins and outs on how to get in there. There has to be, because you can do it on your regular desktop computer. Why can't you do it with your phone? So anyway, I'm going to move on to topic number 2, numero dos. And I want to talk a little bit about something I've talked about 50 billion times. And yes, I'm being hyperbolic. And that's about managing time. And the reason I'm bringing this up, a lot of times when I bring up topics like this, is because someone will ask me a question. Sometimes people are just flat out rude about it, but some people are just curious. Like this last person was simply curious why I don't just buy local cream and make my own butter instead of buying my butter and my cream through Azure Standard and getting the organic. Well, that's easy. That's easy to answer because getting local cream and butter is pretty much non-existent. It is very difficult. I mean, we live very remotely. All right. There are people out here who have goats and sheep and cattle, but getting a reliable source for these things is incredibly difficult. Time you think you might have a reliable source, suddenly you don't. And I sort of gave up even trying to look anymore. And we don't have the means and currently the desire to have dairy animals. If I had dairy animals, you darn tootin' better know that, yes, I'd be having all my own milk, making my own butter, and making all my own cheese for certain, and yogurt and whatever other dairy stuff, from that. So, I mean, that's the obvious answer for me. And the reason I want to talk about that isn't just to explain to people that, well, yeah, I don't have dairy animals and we don't have local sources for everything like some people do. Some people just hop, skip, and jump down the road and they've got reliable sources, or they have their own dairy animals or meat animals or whatever. And that's just not doable for everyone. And the reason I'm bringing this up again is not just to answer that question about myself, but to remind people that not everybody can do everything out there. And in fact, all of the people that are doing the most that you might see on YouTube still purchase things. They still have to buy stuff. And here's the reason why. So even people with acres and acres of property and plenty of money to invest in getting their infrastructure in place still are not 100% self-sufficient. And I like people to understand this fact that no matter how self-sufficient any one person thinks they are or acts like they are and then makes other people feel like they're lame because they're not doing everything they're doing. It doesn't matter how self-sufficient they are, they're not 100%. And I don't think there's any way really, well, I'm not gonna say that. There probably is a way. It would take a lot of work and a lot of time to develop yourself to a point where you never, ever, ever, and you'd have to live in the exact right place where you can grow things year round and grow all the things that you personally are going to use. You need to be able to grow your own trees, get your own lumber mill so that you can mill up the trees so you can build your own stuff. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, for us, we have a lumber mill. Patrick can mill up boards and make all kinds of stuff, and he has. But we don't always have the access to all the trees. Currently, yes, on our mountain piece of property, but getting those trees down here, he'd have to mill them, take the mill up the mountain, mill the trees up into boards. So anything we'd need here or to our other piece of property just down the road, then bring the boards. That would be the easiest thing to do. And then everything else, if and when we ever build a cabin up that mountain, well, he could just mill it up there and build it. But there's a lot of people that do a whole bunch of other stuff. Maybe they have all the dairy animals and all this and all that, and they can grow every kind of fruit and vegetable you can imagine, unlike us, because of where we live and our climate. But they probably don't have a lumber mill or know how to run it if they did, and know how to take the wood and to create things out of it. So my point in this is that when you're looking at your own self, you got to make sure there's two things. When you're comparing yourself to others, never allow yourself to feel pressured to be like them. Follow their lead on the things that make sense, listen to their advice, and do what is going to fit into your lifestyle and is going to work for you. Okay? Because like here, we can grow lots of berries and apples, but there's a ton of other fruit that doesn't like growing here, and it can be very tricky. We have 2 cherry trees out front that we've had for a few years now that have just given us a few cherries, and one of them is clearly dying. Who knows why? It's very difficult finding things like cherry trees and peach trees that will do well here. So, but we can get like blackberries are in our area are considered a noxious weed, where for other areas they have to fight and struggle to get it to grow. So you can't always compare yourself to everyone else and not and feel like that either you have to be like them or feel like you're a loser or a failure because it's not working for you to do that, or because you don't have the funds or the space to have dairy animals. These are massive investments. They're investments that will pay for themselves over time, but they are investments. Like, here's an example. I saw this funny little video of this woman that had chickens. And she's showing all her chickens. She's showing her nice little coop. She's showing all this stuff. And she says, "Yeah, I think we're probably, we're getting our eggs are probably costing us about $1,000 for a carton." I mean, she was also being hyperbolic, but it was funny, but you get it because they're like the easiest farm animal to have, one of the easiest. Quail might be easier. I don't know by experience, but from talking to those who do have quail, they're probably a little bit easier and less money invested into them. But everything to get the infrastructure in place, like when you got chickens, you want to make sure they're well protected. And so you want to have a good coop, things that raccoons and weasels can't dig under. This is why our coop has a foundation to it. Or something where the raccoons can't just pull the boards off the side of the coop, which that's happened to people around here. You want to know that your chickens are going to be safe. And so that's going to take money and or time. And not everybody has that kind of money up front to invest. And no one should ever feel guilty because they're not there. And the things you choose to do, I mean, I think I just talked about something similar to this when I was talking about what you choose to grow, but now I'm applying this to just the whole thing about being self-sufficient. The the things you choose to invest in and the things you choose to tackle and the skills like making soap is a really good one because a lot of people just aren't ready to tackle that one yet. Or even pressure canning. I get it because I was there. It took me a while for both of those. And then once I finally did it, I was hooked. But it can be a scary process when you're trying something new for the first time. So not only do you have the investment up front of having to like get a canner or get the stuff for making soap and etc. Then you got to get over the fear. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is your time. So your time is valuable. Now, for me, I'm going to go back to the milk thing. I have a lot of milk powder put up, milk powder that I bought. And, through the years, the brand has changed depending on what was available because more and more different brands started becoming available. Then I finally was able to get organic whole goat milk well, I've got whole goat milk powder too, but the organic whole A2 cow's milk from Azure Standard. And the nice thing I like about the A2, though that's not as important to us because we're not sensitive to any of that stuff in milk, but having something like that on hand in case somebody is good to know. And is it expensive? Yes. But it's also expensive for me to buy organic whole milk. And it's going to add to the cost for me to take the time to dehydrate it. Now, like today, I got stuff dehydrating back here on solar power. So electricity wise, it might not cost me anymore, but time wise, it does. So you got to, when you're looking at all these things and you're saying, oh, well, so and so does all this for themselves. Well, that's great. That's great. You might do all this stuff for yourself, and I don't. But I don't have dairy animals. Again, if I had dairy animals, not only would I be making the butter and the cheese and the yogurt from that, I would also be dehydrating a bunch of it up and putting it up and not having to buy it from Azure Standard. So there's always going to be a give and take. And so you got to choose what's going to fit into your time. So not just your pocketbook, not just the space you have, not just your infrastructure, but your time, because your time is valuable. All right. And my time is valuable for sure. And so, well, I say that like I'm saying it's more valuable than yours. And I don't ever mean to sound that way. I'm just saying I know what my time is like, with my grandbabies and with my garden and my chickens. And whenever there's a nice day like today, I want to be making the most of it out in the garden. And so that is valuable time. I could be the time that it would take me to mess around with the milk that isn't going to really save me money in the long run. That time could be spent working more in my garden, getting more of the weeds out, or at least the things that are overtaking the garden, or thinking of better ways to do things in my garden, making better plans and realizing that, hey, I don't think this coconut squash is going to be such a good idea after all. I'm going to take this space and use it for something better. Now, initially, some of you are going to, you'll hear this on Monday, but I was all excited about this coconut squash. It was growing, started out beautifully. It came up faster than the pumpkin. But once I transplanted out of those pots, I did on one side, I put the coconut, and one side, I put the pumpkin. The coconut, everything looked great for a little while, but then one by one, my coconut squash started dying. I took some of them, I planted them out in the open area because I had a little plot in my main big garden section in the back that didn't have anything. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them. I'm like, I'll put these there. I'll see which ones do best, outside or inside. Well, the ones in the covered area were all dying. And the ones outside are doing meh. Okay, they're just there. But my pumpkin is doing just fine. And then the other thought that occurred to me that I didn't think about until somebody made a comment, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know that the coconut was a hybrid of such and such." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's a hybrid." I've got all these coconut squash plants from that seed that I saved from that squash that I had bought, and it's a hybrid. This means I could have all these plants taking up a crud load of room and never get any fruit off of them. Or if I do get fruit off of them, it won't be like the original. And that fruit may not have any seed at all. It might be sterile. So I'm thinking I'm not going to be wasting. I mean, on top of the fact that the plants aren't looking all that great now the pumpkin looks better than the coconut. I don't want to be wasting space with that. So now I got to do a little reworking out there and rethinking and replanning because I have limited space. So I need to plan accordingly so I'm not wasting that space. Just like always thinking of better ways to do things, like planting beans around my honeysuckle, around my the fruit trees. I'm not doing that this year, but just anywhere where I can make the most of the space. So when you're planning, I've got several videos on time management in general, but this is speaking mostly just about self-sufficiency. So when you're looking at what are your goals? You got to set your own goals. They shouldn't be Deep South Homestead's goals, Rain Country Homestead's goals, Doug and Stacy's goals, American Homestead's goals. Learn what you can from each of your favorite channels, or at least those that are still talking about homesteading and self-sufficiency. And, take the bits and pieces that apply to you, but never, ever, ever feel like you have to be just like any one of them or like me, because it's guaranteed that you're already doing some things that I don't, and vice versa. And we're all going to have our different reasons that why we do things or don't do things the way we do. And they're going to all be valid for each person. So not only am I saying to you guys, don't judge yourself harshly because you're not like so and so. Be careful you're also not judging someone else who's not like you, because everybody's going to have their reasons why they do or don't do different things. And we can all learn and grow from each other. I mean, I still have things I have not tried yet that I keep saying I'm going to try. It's a matter of remembering, but not just remembering, but remembering when and if I actually have the time to try it. So, yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard one of Danny's porch time talks in a long time. I know he used to do some pretty good ones. A lot of times, again, it's the time issue or just remembering to go listen when I do have time and I just want to listen to stuff. Um, I've been listening to a lot of people talking about the current money situation. And it's really kind of scary how many people are just getting into debt and they don't even care. They're going on these vacations and have no idea how much money they have. So they're charging everything. And they're not even paying attention to how much they're charging. And it's scary. That's kind of stuff I've been listening to lately. It's it scares me for the future of it's people of all ages. It's young people clear up until elderly people in their 70s and 80s that they don't have any retirement because they wasted so much money when they were young and didn't consider their future. It's really sad. And so with that said, though, all of this stuff that we talk about, all the stuff that we try to teach and we try to learn from each other has to do with preparing for our future. We don't know. We don't all know if Social Security is even going to be there for us when we finally get to collect it. Patrick he's turning 62 this year. He just got this email saying, oh, you could start collecting when you turn 62. And it's like, man, do you gamble with trying to collect it early, knowing it might not be there later? But then now that's that much less that you're not going to be getting per month because they're going to cut it down. It's going to be less than what you could get if you waited. I mean, these are a lot of decisions we have to make, and you have to realize that, you know what? And people, our kids' age, they better not think that there's going to be retirement for them. They're going to have to build their own retirement. And when you start doing things for yourself and putting up your own, growing a garden, then taking that and putting these things up, that's a retirement. That can be a retirement investment right there, and getting the chickens and all these different things. And so I think we got to, with all this happening out there, it's, I didn't mean to get on that topic, but it really does go hand in hand that we have to assume, no matter what age you are right now, that retirement may not always be there. That Social Security may not always be there for you. So find ways to better your life and get yourself as self-sufficient as you can. But again, not trying to be like everyone else, but like what is going to work for you, your spouse, etc. So anyway, okay, that was topic number 2. I think I covered everything I was going to say. I only wrote down a couple of notes, and then I just decided I'd wing it because I knew what my basic message was, but I'm like, I don't need to write all that down. I'll figure it out when I start blabbing. Once I open my mouth and stuff starts falling out. See, we decided to start at 62. The break-even point for us is around 15 years. If we draw beyond 77, it's a bonus. And then you wonder, are you still going to be around at 77? A lot of people are, but I mean, that's the other chance you're taking. I mean, I don't necessarily want to live forever. I mean, what I mean is I don't want to live forever in this body in this world the way things are. But at the same time, for however long I live, do you take a chance and put it off knowing you'll get paid better, but then may never get any of it? I mean, no matter what you do, you're taking a chance. So you got to kind of plan accordingly. Let's see. Medicare thing that gets me so much to it. If I do not have it at 65, they charge me for not having it. What? Really? Didn't know that. But anyway, yeah, we need to start really thinking about that because Patrick, he also, when he was with the park, he had a TSP fund as well, which I don't know what that stands for. I hate acronyms, but and abbreviations. I don't hate them, but a lot of times I use them and because I simply don't know what they stand for. Thrift savings plan. That's right. That's what it stands for. And a couple of others, that like he's got his retirement through PERS and then his FERS because he's been both public and federal in previous jobs. But he's on his FERS right now and he gets to start collecting his PERS. I think it's 65. So I think he has 3 more years before that, I believe. So anyway, let me get to my last topic. And this one should also be, that one went longer than I expected it to, but this last one should also be fairly quick. And then if I still have time, which, I'm not doing too bad. It's only 12 o'clock here or whatever o'clock it is in your time zone. 2, 5, whatever. But I wanted to go into a little more depth about Mylar bags and food storage. So like most people that start getting into prepping and, I've talked about oxygen absorbers being just basically a gimmick. I don't think Mylar bags are necessarily a gimmick. I think they definitely can have their place. My thing is finding better ways to use them because here's what Mylar is made out of. It's polyester and aluminum. So, and I've put food directly into Mylar bags, not thinking, not knowing any better at the time. You're just thinking, we still kind of have this mindset, oh yeah, it's food grade, it's food grade, it's food grade. And so everything is either plastic or aluminum. And Mylar is both. At least with the Mylar, I believe the aluminum is the outside coating. And then the inside is the polyester, which is, it's basically plastic. Okay. So I was talking one day, I think it was the This and That published this last Monday about, for those people who don't really want their food to touch Mylar, here's some ideas. And somebody kind of freaked out and said, are you saying I need to throw out all the food I put up in Mylar? Never once said that. Never once said that. Okay. I still have stuff that's packed in Mylar that I did like that, directly into the Mylar and then into the buckets. Doing that, really even considering what these bags are made out of. I'm not going to go throw all that stuff away. You think I'm not throwing that away? No. Not unless it's bad. I mean, it's actually bad, which I'm assuming it's not. So Mylar can have its place because it's going to help, especially if you're storing in plastic buckets. Well, even in metal galvanized cans, the Mylar not only will help keep moisture out, that's another barrier. It'll also help prevent the aroma of the food getting to those very sensitive rat and mice noses, and they can chew through plastic. So if you got things in plastic buckets and they can smell it, they'll chew right through the plastic. It might take them a while, but they can do it. And they then easily chew through a Mylar bag if they can smell it, but they have to be able to smell it. And also, so yeah, it's going to help keep it dry. It's going to help keep the smell. And it's a lot easier to push out as much air out of a Mylar bag. I don't bother with the doggone oxygen absorbers again. I find them to be a waste of money, but you can push a lot of air out and seal it up. And it'll be just as close to being vacuum sealed as you can get. And that's going to do a lot to help preserve it. But how do you get away from the plastic and the aluminum? Well, what I've started doing, mostly what I do now is anything I'm working through quickly, like my long-term storage stuff is long-term storage. It's in Mylar. But the stuff the buckets, I do keep big buckets here of grains and stuff because I work through them fairly quickly. So my thing now is since all of the Azure standard things of grain and popcorn and stuff are in paper, I love that. Some of the places I bought from before were in some kind of poly bag, but some kind of plastic. But at least these are in paper. And I try to stuff the whole thing down into the bucket. So the, because the bucket's plastic, and then I've got the paper as that kind of barrier between the plastic and the grains or the flour or the beans or whatever. And if I do any more like long-term storage, or I want to put it into a bucket and put it in our offsite location, what I would do now is put the paper bag, put the whole bag, if it'll fit, inside a big Mylar bag, push out as much air as I can, and then seal that up, and then put that in a bucket or a metal trash can. And that's how I do it from now on. I haven't started that exact thing yet. I said something in a video recently that made it sound like I have. That's what I'm switching to, but I haven't actually done that yet. The bag inside the Mylar, inside the bucket or trash can. But that's what I will do whenever I get to that point where I'm working through all that long-term stuff, and then I want to make that change. But here at the house, I've definitely made the change where it stays in the paper bag it came in, and that goes inside the bucket. So it doesn't, I just want to clarify that, because Mylar can still have can be great for food storage. But, my recommendation is, if you can get away with it, don't put your food directly in the Mylar. I don't think it's going to totally ruin your food. It's just the whole idea of us always being constantly exposed to aluminums and plastic, overexposed. Aluminum has its place. In fact, it is actually, what is it called? It is a nutrient our body needs. The problem is even naturally sourced, we're overexposed to it because it's in the baking powder, it's in the deodorant, though it's less and less these days. It's in the air, it's here, it's there. People are baking in it, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a matter of, we're trying to find more and more ways to just decrease how much plastic and aluminum we're being exposed to as much as possible. But also, don't ever feel that because you learn that, oh, I shouldn't, I have stuff in plastic. I have stuff in my freezer, it's in plastic. Sometimes there's things that are just no completely getting around it. The cartons I store, the milk cartons I get, I don't know entirely what they're lined with, and I freeze them. I'm taking a chance. But so everything's a chance, right? You could store things in a paper bag and just go sit it somewhere and then have it end up being full of weevils or moisture. No matter what you do, you're taking a chance one way or the other. So it's always about just trying to find ways to sort of better what you do with your food storage, and do it in baby steps. And don't worry, just like with the trying to be like everybody else, don't feel like just because you learned that, well, gosh, this is bad for you and this is bad, now I got to throw everything out. There are certain things I do think people should throw out, and that is anything with any cooking item that you are using, that you're putting food directly into, that is made with, that's got Teflon. I think that, yes, I agree that all needs to be thrown out. Once I learned about Teflon and realized that we wanted to get off the thyroid medication, and that was one of the major things, is the fluoride, which is what Teflon is basically, that's in the water, in the Teflon pans. I need to get rid of all of it. And so, yeah, I threw out the Teflon. That's really bad stuff. So if I'm going to tell people to throw anything out, throw out your Teflon, stainless steel, cast iron, glass, and what am I forgetting? Stainless steel, cast iron, glass. There's always something I forget. But anyway, yeah. And that includes the hex clad. I don't care what they're saying. It is, I've looked it up. It's got that same kind of Teflon-y type stuff on it. So just because you're paying an arm and a leg for it doesn't mean it's healthier. It might be a great pan, doesn't mean it's healthier. So at any rate, I wasn't thinking pottery, stoneware. Yeah, I was thinking stoneware, because that's the one I always forget, because I have a couple of stoneware baking sheets I use for cookies, but I don't make cookies that much, so I always forget about my stoneware. I do use it though. It could be a great thing. So, yeah. Oh, I didn't even catch the spelling error. But now you got another spelling error. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? We know what you mean. Not unless my eyes are bad. Let me look. Let me look and see if I'm reading that right. Yeah, Shion where? Tanya. I love it. It's great. We all do it. And if it's not that, then it's going to be the autocorrect changing it anyway. And it's like, darn it, stop doing that. Oh, okay. Let me see if I had anything else I wanted to make about that point. Okay, see, no, you don't. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think that was mostly it. I kind of felt bad that this person was. I don't know if they were mad at me or if they were just freaking out. Like, oh, now you're saying I got to throw everything out? No, 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 no. Just do better next time. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just, oh, okay. Okay, let me make this change for the next time. And, that's the best we can do sometimes. And you put a lot of investment into your grains, into the different things that you're putting up. And, you know, as long as the food is still good, I wouldn't, I wouldn't worry about it. So let's see. Oh dear. Anyway, I think that was it. Those are my 3 different topics for the day. And we got time to just chit chat if you guys want. Have you guys noticed? I'm almost afraid to say it, but then again, I don't believe in jinxes. But anyway, um, ever since it's been a few months now, ever since I've come back to doing the lives, we haven't been cut off from YouTube. I still keep setting up a backup video, live feed video, just in case, that's set to private. And I keep thinking, why should I bother? I don't need to do this anymore. But then it's like, as soon as I don't have that set up as a backup, it'll probably happen. So what about clay? I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure clay, Mexican, you just got to know what's in it. That's the main thing. And to be honest, the stoneware sheets I have, I'm not even positive what's in them. That was one of the few things I gave in and bought at an MLM before I even fully understood what MLMs were, multi-level marketing party that was local. But I really liked the idea of these stoneware cooking sheets. I'm sure you can figure out which MLM it was, which I don't buy from MLMs at all anymore. I've become very anti MLM. I don't care how high quality their products truly are. They all claim that they're the best, but that doesn't mean they are. There's certainly a lot of lies around a lot of them, including certain essential oils that I absolutely will not deal with. Missed most of the live, but I'll go back and watch finishing up homeschool year with my, oh, good. Your grandbaby? Good. Let's see. Are you doing regular lives, Heidi? I am, actually. The problem is my schedule is, well, this is, make sure you're, oh, well, it's Tammy. Hell, it's Tammy. I have several Tammys. In case you haven't noticed, there's actually several in the chat right now. I'm trying to be really regular. It's just I don't know what day of the week. Wednesday's my favorite day to do it if I can make it work. But I'm trying to do it on days when I don't have Jace. So even though I've found ways, if it's just Jace that's here, to make it a little quieter by taking the cover off of the pool table and covering the foosball table, because that one is far noisier than the pool table. And then Jason's like, oh, yay, I get to play with the pool table today. And it's not as bad. But he wants to be in this room with me, which is great. But, and I don't mind every now and then when he's like, makes some kind of noise in the background, or bye or hi or what. I mean, that's fine. But is when he's doing the foosball, it is so loud. Or if he really needs something and I got to stop, that's where I just prefer to not have him here. So Wednesdays whenever I can, but sometimes, like last week, it had to be on Thursday. That was the one day I didn't have him. And sometimes it's on Friday. It just depends on the week because his mom's schedule changes all the time. Every week is something different. I'm like, that's the one thing that irritates me about that place is it's like, oh yeah, we're going to get you on this set schedule. And then they keep changing it. And so it's never actually a set schedule. It might seem like it for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, it's not again. So yeah, I'm kind of at the mercy of whatever the schedule is. And then if I don't have any free day, like I almost thought that I was gonna have Jace today, but he's with his dad now. So it worked out, but I almost was gonna have to do it with him here anyway. So it'll change. So just it's gonna be either Wednesday or Friday, most likely, and on a very rare occasion, maybe on a Thursday. But Wednesday's my favorite day to do it. It's just, I'm finding it to be the best. For me, anyway. I don't know about all you all. A lot of you can be here almost any day. Some of you, it's Wednesday's better, some's Friday's better. I don't think I had as many on Thursday, probably because that was just, I think, the only time I did it on a Thursday. And have it actually work. Let's see. Every homesteader I watch is pushing the ceramic pans. Never heard of, I think, Caraway brand. Never heard of it. See, and that's the thing is that, I mean, that's the other thing. And I'm not speaking against any homesteader. I mean, because I haven't heard of them. I haven't heard of anybody talking about ceramic pans. I honestly do not follow many homesteading channels anymore. I've shared why several times, and maybe I'll do again at some point. And it's not because I don't like them. Some of them just have changed, and I'm not learning anything from them anymore. Or I've changed, and I'm not learning anything from them anymore. But the other thing is that it's that whole comparison thing. I said I wasn't going to talk about, but I have a hard time with, I always feel, even when certain people do like seem to try to make you feel bad, and other people just have a way that kind of makes you feel like you're less than them because you're not doing things the way they do. And I just really have a hard time with that. And it's like, well, I have my reasons why I do things the way I do. I have reasons why we haven't up and moved out of Washington State, even though everybody's saying, you need to get out of there. It's like, no, I don't. Just because you think so. We're doing what's best for us and our family. So if God wants us to move at some point, I'm sure it will happen. I mean, that's how I ended up in Forks, this remote little podunk town. In the first place, was God kind of dragged me here kicking and screaming. I wasn't supposed to be here. But then again, I was now, wasn't I? He had plans for me that I couldn't see. So that's possible that maybe one of these days God will say it's time for you to up and move and go to the other side of the states or out of the country. Who knows? One of my followers moved from the US to Israel, and now she's got space and a better climate for growing all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I got now I lost track of what my real point was. Hold the line. We need to stop relinquishing our homes, towns, and states. Right. Right. I hate it when every state is, every place is going to have its good and its bad. We're being taxed to death here. I realize we could go to certain other places and not be quite so taxed to death, and some things will be cheaper, but some things aren't going to be better than here. I love the fact that even though we have a lot of rainy days and sometimes it can get a little depressing, you do get used to it over time though. And you learn to really appreciate the rain. Like we've had some pretty nice days mixed up with days of rain. And it's, what's wonderful about that? The garden loves it. Things explode. You have a sunny day, then you have a day where it just pours rain all day. Then you have a sunny day. See, that was rain yesterday, sun today, sun the day before yesterday, and the gardens explode here because they're getting the best of both worlds when that happens. And when the sun comes out and you see how green and lush everything is around here, you learn to really, really appreciate this place. But you got to go through a lot of rain, and it's not always easy. So everything is going to have, every place is going to have its good and its bad. And you got to decide what's best for you, what's best for your family. Is it worth it to move away from all your kids and grandkids just because somebody on YouTube said that you shouldn't live there? Huh. They don't know you. They don't know your family. They don't know how important your family is to you. So anyway, yeah. And so I don't, there's a lot. Oh, we were talking about the pans. Okay. So let me get back on that. Maybe I'll make a separate topic about it, but since we're talking about it, is that I see this a lot. I mean, and I stopped. Okay, here's what I've done. I do have affiliates, but as a lot of you know, but in case anybody doesn't know that's listening to this, I stopped accepting offers from anyone that I've never heard of to try their product in exchange for a video review and an affiliate. I've done that with a few things. Some things I was happy with initially. Like, I'm still happy with my Nakano knives. The sad part about that is it's like their site, it's there, but you can't buy anything anymore. They're not responding to any messages. All of a sudden, everything just stopped. I have no idea why. I still like my one garden stock I got from that company, but I'm still using it. I like some things better, my own personal way of doing some things, but it's still nice to have. I stopped promoting it because suddenly they just cut me off for no reason. Is it because I'm actually honest about it, about my feelings? Is it because I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to just go on and rant and rave about something that I was given for free just so I could get more clicks on my link? No. I'm not going to do that. And I think some companies have cut me off because I don't do that. I will always be honest. Now if I review I have a video review coming out. It might be tomorrow. I think it's this week. I have a video review on those Bobby boots. No affiliate. I didn't get them for free. I bought them. So from now on, anything I do, it's going to be based on something I bought myself. And I've tried and I've used and I'm happy with. And if by chance I happen to set up, at that point, I may reach out to a company. I don't think that Bobby Boot, the place that makes the Bobby Boot, what are they called? Merry People. Merry People is the brand name out of Australia. I don't think they do affiliates, but I haven't even tried to reach out to them yet on that. But it would be cool. But if I do affiliate with them, it's because I'm happy with their product. I've already been using it. But I'll still promote a product even without an affiliate. Like the Superb lids, I was promoting them before I became an affiliate, and I reached out to them because I'm so happy with their stuff. And I didn't know they were going to send me a big, massive pile of lids and jars. I didn't know that. I just wanted to affiliate with them because I was really happy with their lids and that they're made in the United States. And I'm thinking, this is great because if I can get an affiliate, then I can also pass on a discount to my followers because then it's a win-win. But the problem is there's always all these new companies coming out. Their product is the best. And I'm not even going to bring up the certain food preservation thing that I'm always ranting and raving against. There's always some new thing coming out on the market, and this is the best thing, and you got to have it. And what these companies do is they'll go to the channels that they know this will suit their product. So especially if it has anything to do with cooking, preserving food, etc. And they'll start emailing all these people. I get several emails like this every day, and I always mark them as spam and block them every day, every single day. So I probably got an email about those pans, and I don't know because I won't even look at them. I know I can just tell by the heading, nope, not interested, not interested. I don't even know what they're for. I just automatically, they get They go to spam because I won't work that way anymore. I will do reviews, um, but it's gonna be on my standards, on and something I've tried and something I believe in. And sometimes it might just be fun, especially if you're like me and you saw all the ads for this certain brand of underwear that look like they'd be really comfortable, and then you finally give in and try them, but you're scared because you don't trust anything in social media. And yeah, I finally gave in and tried this one brand. I'm not an affiliate with them, but boy, they are comfortable. And that's the one that's called Every. I don't, it's EVRY. Oh man, they're comfortable. I highly recommend them. But I'm not an affiliate with them, but I'm still glad to recommend them because they are what they say they are. They are super duper comfortable, and you can find them all social media, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm assuming TikTok. I don't know. I don't have TikTok, and I don't care, and I don't want it. Um, I initially didn't really even want Instagram or X either, but I have a lot of people that like to follow me on those places. Let's see. But like the boots, I kept seeing those boots and kept seeing those boots and started researching them, and I really, really like them. The only thing I don't like about them is putting them on it's not as easy as my Kizik's where I could slip into them, but the Kizik's are getting ever more expensive and they don't carry my size. Where the Merry People at least has something far closer to my size, in those kind of boots. But they slip off easily enough hands free. You just still have to yank them on, but that's because of the way they're made to be more waterproof, and water can't easily just slip in there. So I've stomped around in some water. I realized those little things on the side is neoprene. And it's like, why didn't I go ahead and go clear up to my ankles in those boots so I could test out the neoprene and the stitching? I should have. I did that review and it's like, why didn't I do that? I was a little nervous. But I'll do it next time I wear them, and I've got a big puddle to stomp around in. But yeah, so my point is that I keep getting sidetracked, and I'm sorry, but just because a whole bunch of channels are suddenly promoting the same product, understand why. It's because that same company reached out to all these people all at the same time. They got the product for free in exchange for a review. Now, those companies won't tell you in exchange for a positive review. Some might, I don't know. But that's really what they want. And if you don't give them a 100% positive review, they could just cut you off like that. And now the money we're making off the clicks through your affiliate link is gone. And so I'm like, if that's the way some of these companies are going to work, I don't want anything to do with them. I will try a product. I will decide if I like it. And if I like it, then I'll do a review. That is how I work, whether I have an affiliate with them or not. But I will say I'm really happy that both Vanilla Bean Kings and Superb Liz decided to set up an affiliate. I was so thrilled, especially the Superb. Let's see. Danny only got 80 and we must be talking about hypes or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how these things work. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, you are. And that's the other thing too. I don't know much about these, but it seems like some channels, from what I'm just reading comments about people in the hypes that because I've never tried it, so I don't know. But probably the channels that are already being highly promoted are the ones that get the most points for their hypes. And since my channel, they've just kind of brought me down to rock bottom now. I guess at this point, there's pretty much nowhere else to go but up. It's still disappointing though. They work so hard, and I went from, and my income has been reduced to 1/6 of what it once was. I mean, most people couldn't even live off of what I make. I don't even know if we could live off of what I make now. If it wasn't for the affiliates that I do have, those do help. And the products, people buying products that we make and sell, like our seeds and the skin cream. That's mostly what it is now. Patrick's still making and selling the chambers, and a certain unmentionable little generator, he still makes and sells those, but he's not making a lot of the wood products right now just because his time. And the last couple times that people ordered something, did a custom order for something like a Vitamix tamper, he went ahead and just made it up before they even paid for it, and they never paid for it. So it sat here. It sat here. I finally was able to sell the last Vitamix tamper where somebody, over the time, 2 or 3 different people contacted me. Hey, are you selling these? Like, well, I happen to have one. And then suddenly you never hear back from them. And then next person, oh, they'll be just like everybody else. Then finally, somebody bought it and they love it. They absolutely love it. They sent us a nice email telling us how much they appreciated it. But yeah, it's kind of because the time and work involved in making stuff like that. And his time right now is better spent doing other things. So he's not doing a lot of that. So what's supposed to, oh, the ceramic's supposed to be, and I'm sure it might be, but again, it's like, do any of us really know what is on those? And do the people promoting it really know what's on it? It's like the underwear I was just talking about, talking about underwear, but that brand, it didn't say anywhere on their website. Usually if it doesn't say where they're made, you can assume they're made in China. But I'm like, I'm gonna give it a try because I'd really like, I mean, I've looked into making my own, but at the cost of making my own and then styling it the way I want would be a lot more. Finding just the right kind of fabric, it'd be more expensive than buying them. So I'm like, I went ahead and tried them. And sure enough, when I got them in, I looked in the label and yeah, they're made in China, unfortunately, but they're comfortable. I love them so much so I threw out a lot of my old stuff and bought several more pairs. They're very comfy. Anyway, but they are cotton. They're mostly cotton, and there's a part of them that has a little bit of spandex mixed in with the cotton. And sometimes that's kind of almost impossible to get away from. But from my own experience, having that little bit of spandex in certain types of, things, like I do still make my undergarment tops, and just in the band that I put underneath is a cotton lycra or cotton spandex blend, but it's still mostly cotton. I can't handle much if of unnatural fabric is over a certain amount. I can't wear it at all. I just can't. In fact, I was wearing a different shirt. I'd bought these flannel shirts years ago. It's the yellow and black one and the teal and black one. You'll see me wearing my videos every now and then. And I was wearing the teal and black one to shoot my this and that for Monday. And I thought maybe I'll wear this for the live show. And I realized, nope, that's too long. I can't wear it. Wearing it for one quick video is one thing, but any longer than that, it's like, nope. I thought it was cotton when I bought it. And I realized as I was wearing those, and I bought 2 of them, I'm like, this isn't cotton. This doesn't feel like cotton. This doesn't feel right. No, they're polyester. They're fuzzy like cotton flannel, but when you're wearing them long enough, you're like, this isn't right. So as long as that blend isn't too much more, as long as it's mostly cotton or mostly a natural fabric, it's usually, I don't have an issue with it then. Let's see. I've noticed over the years, people tend to move in search of freedom. I do not think there's a state that hasn't been taken over. I agree, Tammy. Yep. And that's what, okay. I'm going to talk from a biblical standpoint. And I will say this, I never apologize for my faith. If you ever hear me apologize, and I'm not apologizing for what I believe in or my faith, but I always do feel bad if I start going on about my faith, and some people are like, oh, I don't want to hear about this again, or talking about freeze dryers. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about this again. That's what I mean. But for those of us who are believers and we believe what the Bible says, there's no escaping what's coming. I mean, It doesn't matter if you move to Antarctica or the middle of nowhere. Eventually, eventually, it's gonna touch you. There's no escaping it. So that was always been my thought process. It's like, why try to move from state to state to state? Because when people, we saw what started happening in just from a distance, I should say, in Idaho. Whole bunch of people were moving to Idaho because they don't have as many like what is it, all these permits and all this stuff. Well, property prices started going because a whole bunch of people are moving there. And you can guarantee that any kind of government that can get in there and say, oh, now we've got, ooh, look at all the people moving in, it's going to happen. So, we know there's stuff going on in Missouri right now. You got these stupid data things. Things. Some reason the word escapes me. These big data centers wanting to go in everywhere and taking up acres and acres and acres and acres of good land, pushing people out of their homes, forcing people out of their homes. It could happen here just as easily. I doubt it would be as likely to happen where we live, but as soon as you think you're in the best, safest spot, there's going to be something. And it's silly to waste money and time to try to just like Tammy was saying, just to find that freedom. Because if you do find it, it's going to be short-lived. We know what the book says. We know how it all ends. We may not know exactly when or how quick it's going to happen, but we do know. And so we have to live our lives. We have to find our peace in what we do and our comfort and know who's truly in control and trust in him to guide us in everything that we do. So that, what am I trying to say? I have so many thoughts wanting to come out of my brain at the same time. I know that for us, things have changed a lot over the years since going down these different paths that we're heading down. The self-sufficiency and going deeper into our faith and learning about the word. And I find that every time we think we know exactly what's going to be next, it ends up being something different. This is like my channel. I don't know how long God wants me to keep doing what I'm doing, but for now, I keep persisting as long as I am able to do it. But there might come a point where God wants me to move on to something different. And I will have to just do whatever it is he leads me into. But for now, it's here. And I know it's where he wants me. And I will continue to do this, even if my income gets reduced to zero. I may have to cut back on how much I do. Maybe it'll just be a live show once a week and that's it. And a this and that. Or less. Who knows? Okay, let me read a few more comments because it looks like there's some good stuff coming in here. People in California and the Northeast sell their properties for way more. Okay, whoops. It jumped on me. Way more than the same house down here sell for. Raising local property prices and pricing young families out of the housing market. Exactly. Yep. See, I live about 5 minutes out of Joplin, and now they are putting a data center in the north, to the north of me. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, that's sad. They talked about putting a data center in our county, and hopefully we can keep that from happening. Oh, I pray you can. It's just disgusting. Does anybody actually believe that any of that's going to be used for our good? Is anybody foolish enough or ignorant enough to actually believe that? I don't think anybody here following me is. I'd be surprised if they were. Yeah. Anyway, well, folks, I think I've babbled long enough and spoke my mind enough. Got to hear everything just come vomiting out of my brain through here. So I should probably get going. But as always, thank you all for coming in. I again appreciate the time you guys take just to come hang out, even if it's just a couple of minutes to come in and say hi. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that you put up with my just spilling my guts about whatever comes to my mind at the time. And, taking time out of your busy days. So now I shall release you to go do all the many things I know you still have yet to do, as I also need to get out and get some stuff done as well. And oh, my sister is Marco Poloing me, so I'll get off here and go listen to see what she has to say. So, again, thanks for coming in. Take care and God bless. Bye. Love y'all.